What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim, and by popular request, I have got the Greninja BREAK deck here that finished top 4 at the Madison Regional Championships. This is Jake Ewart's list from Madison. Congrats to Jake for a awesome top 4 finish with a deck that many people love, many people hate. I mean, this is such a polarizing deck. So many people swear by this deck, think it is an excellent choice. I mean, in theory, I think Greninja BREAK is like the best, most busted deck in standard format. It just takes so much to get going and can be problematic just because it does take a long time to set up. But once this thing sets up, it is just a dream to play. Just being able to shut down your opponent's abilities. It's got almost anything a player could want. You've got ability lock with shadow stitching. You've got snipe with giant water shuriken. You've got non-EX, non-GX attackers with 170 hit points. The deck is amazing. You got consistency with water duplicates. It is very cool. You've even got paralyzing with the bubble Froakie here. Notice that he has selected the bubble Froakie and not the 70 hit point Froakie, which is an interesting choice. I've seen a lot of people going for the 70 hit point Froakie, especially with Buzzwole decks in the mix. But this is a awesome deck and a good place to start if you are considering playing Greninja BREAK for the North American International Championships. So let's take a look at what we got. Of course, we've got 4 of the bubble Froakie here to start things off. We've also got 4 copies of Frogadier. Anybody remember when this deck was only playing 3 copies of Froakie and we were playing Talonflame in this deck? That was wild. Those are weird times. All right, yes, also got 4 copies of Frogadier, 4 copies of the Shadow Stitching Greninja, and 3 copies of Greninja BREAK. And this has been pretty much the standard Greninja setup here for as long as anyone can remember. Like I said, the only real deviation from this here is that some Greninja decks back in the day were playing 3 Froakie, and we're also playing 4 Talonflame BREAK, not Talonflame BREAK, 4 Talonflame in order to get the deck set up, which was really good during an era where Trevenant was popular and Item Lock was popular because the Talonflame could search out cards there while you were item locked. But anyways, here we go. We got the 4-4-4-3 Greninja BREAK line. We've also got a 1-1 Starmie. Starmie Space Beacon ability allows you to discard a card from your hand in exchange for 2 basic waters from your discard pile, which has incredible synergy with that Greninja BREAK giant water shuriken, because just as long as you got Starmie in play, that means that you have 2 energies. You could use 1 to attack, 1 to giant water shuriken. If you've already got maybe a splash energy in play or something like that to attack with, then you can retreat for free. Giant water shuriken with 1 Greninja BREAK, retreat for free because Greninja has a free retreat cost, and then go and giant water shuriken with your second Greninja BREAK, meaning that you can easily turn out 180 damage a turn, which is outstanding, right? You're doing more than 180 damage a turn with 2 giant water shurikens plus a Moonlight Slash for 80. You're doing 200 damage in 1 turn with that Starmie Space Beacon, which consistently allows you to get your energy back into play. Starmie, in fact, is one of the reasons why probably the Talonflame version is not seeing as much play or any play at all, because Starmie is just so good for allowing you to pump out energy late into the game. And this deck almost always makes it to the late game. You are almost always stretching for resources, trying to get that final energy you need to take that final knockout, so on and so forth. So Starmie is great for getting you to that late game and still having energy to boot in hand. Excellent. And then we also play, to finish things off, 1 copy of Tapu Lele GX, just because this deck's biggest issue is consistency. So having an emergency out to a supporter can be very good, can be game winning, can save you in a tough spot. Also, if your opponent is knocking out your Tapu Lele, all right, that's fine. This deck can still win. It means that they're not knocking out a Greninja, and it means they're not knocking out your Starmie, which is fantastic because you want to keep them alive. They are going to allow you to end up winning the game by overwhelming your opponent with giant water shuriken. That's it for the Pokemon. Let's move on to the supporters. Now, this is going to be the last time in standard format that this deck is legal. These cards are all pretty much rotating out here. So this is, for many players, going to be Greninja BREAK's last hurrah at the North American International Championships and potentially the World Championships here. So this is a great place to look as far as a successful list heading into the final stretch for Greninja BREAK. We've got 4 copies of N, of course. 4 copies of Cynthia. Shuffle Draw is so good for this deck because you want to conserve your resources while continuing to draw new cards. And we also play 2 copies of Professor Sycamore, and this is very good. This is very similar to actually what I'm playing in my own Greninja GX deck and a lot of these evolution decks. Sycamore counts are being cut so that you can conserve your resources with shuffle draw cards like N and Cynthia. Greninja will stay at 6 prizes very late into the game, meaning that N is basically shuffle draw 6 until the final couple turns of the game, where you maybe have Sycamore or Cynthia to finish your deck off and allow you to draw the final cards that you need in order to finish the game there. Sycamore is great in some situations. You can't just cut the Sycamores altogether because sometimes you just want to ditch everything in your hand and you absolutely need to hit a card combination, and Sycamore is your best option to do that, especially if you need to hit like a 2 or 3 card combo. Say you need like a Rescue Stretcher, a Water Energy, and an Enhanced Hammer, something like that. Sycamore is going to be your best option to help you get there. As far as the item cards go, we play 4 copies of Ultra Ball, 4 copies of Evo Soda. Talk about consistency. This dude is not missing those evolutions there. Excellent to see. I love the consistency. You'll notice with a lot of these deck profiles been showing off lately, consistency is key, is the #1 priority in these lists. 3 copies of Choice Band, because doing 70 damage with Shadow Stitching is just way better than doing 40 damage. Also, the ability to Moonlight Slash for 110 is fantastic as well. 2 copies of Max Potion to help those Greninjas last into the very late game. 2 copies of Enhanced Hammer is very good against Buzzwole, very good against Zoroark decks. Both those decks very much so rely on their special energy, so Enhanced Hammer is very good for slowing them down, and knocking a strong energy off of a Buzzwole or a Beast Energy or something like that can make all the difference between a Greninja Break getting KO'd and surviving into the next turn. 2 copies of Field Blower helps remove Parallel Cities and those pesky tools from those Garbodor decks. 1 copy of Super Rod, 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher, and 3 copies of Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill, fantastic in this deck. Allows you to go get your Froakies and things like that. Just allows you to get your Starmie out into play, your Staryu out into play. Speaking of Staryu, we played the Free Retreat Staryu, by the way, so make sure you're playing that one. If you are playing this deck, the Free Retreat Staryu is the optimal one. 1/1 Rescue Stretcher, Super Rod. Sometimes you do want to just get the energy back into the deck, especially if you've prized your Staryu or something like that. You may need to emergency get some waters back into the deck, and Super Rod can help save you from that. 1 Rescue Stretcher. You notice some of these decks used to play higher counts of Rescue Stretcher and Super Rod, but now we are playing 4 copies of Splash Energy. So with 4 copies of Splash Energy, you don't really need as much Pokemon recovery because the Splash Energy recovers for you. So that is fantastic. And really, I do love this list. This list is very consistent. You just got the 6 Water, the 4 Splash here to wrap things up. I love that we have a little bit of option to haze our opponent with Enhanced Hammer, slow them down a little bit. You have a little bit of an option to tank. The 3 Choice Band, fantastic. 2 Field Blower, perfect. And the 4/4 Ultra Ball Evo Soda is just exactly what I want to see from a Greninja deck. I mean, giving you just the most options to draw optimally throughout the course of the game. And then, like I said, 6 copies of Water, 4 copies of Splash is becoming very standard for these Greninja decks. This is plenty of energy, especially if you can get that Starmie out into play. If Starmie happens to get knocked out, which I think a lot of people who are in the know, a lot of people playing against Greninja, you know just how good that Starmie is. We'll go for the knockout on the Starmie early. You have the option to Rescue Stretcher it back in, to Super Rod it back in, and keep that thing up, because Greninja can very easily run out of water energy if the Starmie is able to be kept off the board. So playing against this deck, you want to look out for the Starmie. When you're playing with this deck, you got to get the Starmie up. But this deck is very strong. Like I said, potentially the most ideal deck heading into the North American International Championships. I mean, you stop Zoroark's trade, you stop Malamar's Psychic Recharge, you are a non-EX deck with 170 hit points tanking against Buzzwole, you have Enhanced Hammers to remove Strongs. This deck has so much. You stop Lycanroc's Bloodthirsty Eyes, you stopped Octillery's Abyssal Hand. You have so many options, but it is a Greninja Break deck, and people have problems with Greninja Break just because Greninja Break can sometimes just go too far behind while it is trying to set up so that it cannot come back. I mean, anybody who saw Greninja Break lose to Volcanion all the way back at what regional championships was that? That was Hartford, Connecticut. Yes, at the Hartford, Connecticut Regional Championships. That was brutal to see. Just that, a speedy deck, even with the type disadvantage, could overwhelm a Greninja Break deck. But Greninja Break just refuses to go away. Very strong, very stable archetype. And like I said, potentially is the ideal play. Just can we get the deck to work? That is the question that everybody has on their minds. Thank you all for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel. Let me know what do you guys think of Greninja Break in the comments below. Make sure to check out the Etsy store and the Patreon stuff as well. Ring that bell as well. Make sure you get notifications for the videos if you want to or not. It's totally cool. Whatever. Peace.